This is Defenders TV Podcast, episode 108, where we are talking all about Netflix Marvel's Defenders San Diego Comic-Con trailer.
You think I'm holding back?
Welcome back, fellow Defenders, to Defenders TV Podcast episode 108, where whilst we weren't in San Diego Comic-Con in person, we were there absolutely in spirit for the release of the trailer of Netflix Marvel's, I still can't get my head around doing it that way around, Defenders trailer, which was obviously broadcast to Hall H on the Marvelous Friday, which was all things Marvel. And of course as well, not only that, they did show the first episode of Defenders as well to those lucky enough to be gathered in Hall H at San Diego Comic-Con. So all in all, an absolutely marvellous Friday.
Definitely.
And of course, I am one of your hosts, John.
And I'm one of your hosts, Derek. Welcome back, fellow Defenders.
Welcome back, guys. Chris here.
Yes, I do get carried away with things. So, yes, apologies for the slight delay for introducing who we are.
Admittedly, John, as Jessica said, it's been a hard week.
Yeah.
Yes. we are suffering from technical issues.
A little bit, but that's all right. Welcome to us. If you haven't been with the podcast before, we do cover the Defenders. We've been covering them right back from the first episode of Daredevil. You can get all of our podcasts over on iTunes at defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes or on any good podcast catcher by searching for Defenders TV Podcast. We're up at about episode 108 now, so loads and loads of content to listen to before the Defenders comes out on the 18th of August worldwide. 12 p.m. over in the US and 8 a.m. our time or 7 a.m. our time.
I think we're 7 at this point now.
Excellent.
Yeah, 7 or 8. Early morning, croissants and coffee. And
croissants.
And the Defenders. Or maybe a pan au chocolat, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And absolutely. And if you haven't joined us for our beginning of our podcasts about any of the shows, we do release the first episode review of the Defenders. We'll be releasing it the morning of release worldwide. So we'll have it available for you as soon as you've finished watching the episode. Just like we have for all of the past shows, like Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Daredevil, and
Luke Cage.
Yeah. So we will be here for you when you're ready to watch the episodes. But this time, John, we're here to talk about the trailer that was shown at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes, the trailer for The Defenders, where all 4 of the merry men come together to protect New York from a threat headed by Ripley. I mean, Alexandra, her name is. Yes.
True. It's two ways I don't think Jessica Jones has ever been described as a merry or a man. So, yeah.
She's certainly been merry. She has drank enough whiskey to get merry.
Well, has she? We've seen The Hangover, but we've never seen her in the merry mood.
That's true.
She goes from hungover to really drunk, and there's never this gap.
Yeah, absolutely. She is not a merry drunk. She's more of a punchy drunk, I think.
Oh,
True.
Punch Drunk Love. Is that what it? Wasn't that a film?
It was.
Yes, it was.
Yes, there you go. That shows you that's all my knowledge. I know it was a film. No idea what it's about.
It was Adam Sandler's drama film. There you go.
Oh, enough said about that. Moving swiftly on.
Absolutely. I think as well, in addition to the Defenders trailer, there was a trailer for Punisher that was shown at San Diego Comic-Con as well. Apparently showing Frank traveling the country, dealing with his opponents, which can only mean it was like Titus Andronicus with about 500 million gallons of blood involved.
I would say so.
It certainly sounds very different from the New York Defenders, who really try not to spill blood.
Yeah, apart from Luke Cage, who did go on a trip to outside of to his hometown in Luke Cage, and Iron Fist, who went to a set dressed like China. Most of the Defenders have stayed in New York, really, haven't they?
Wait, but we know that set dressed as China was New York. Well, let's all be brutally honest about that. That was New York with some Chinese characters. It was not even Chinatown. They were like, we're not even going to take you to Chinatown. We're just going to take you to the pier, and we'll put up a couple of characters in Mandarin.
Absolutely. But speaking of Iron Fist, the other big news out of San Diego Comic-Con for the Defenders is Iron Fist Season 2 has now been confirmed. We will be getting a Season 2 of the show. Very cool. Also confirmed is that Misty Knight is joining the cast from her time over on Luke Cage. What makes it really interesting is that Misty Knight and Colleen Wing form the Daughters of the Dragons.
Absolutely.
Which means we will hopefully get some scenes with those two characters back-to-back fighting against their opponents in Iron Fist Season 2.
Absolutely, and I wonder if Simone will have her Iron Fist herself.
Maybe.
You never know.
Will she lose it in the Defenders?
Or Luke Cage Season 2, which presumably will air before Iron Fist.
It's
one
filming
of
at
the
the moment.
two.
Yeah, it's filming at the moment.
And also quite interesting about the Iron Fist Season 2 is that it is getting a brand new showrunner as well.
That is
so
true.
it will be interesting to see the new showrunner's take on both the actual previous season, so what they will carry over storylines wise, and actually the pacing he may bring to the series.
Yeah.
Yes. It'll be interesting to see his take. We've already had a change of showrunner for Daredevil between Season 1 and Season 2.
That's right.
And so, okay, it's not unheard of, and it will be interesting. You know, Scott Book delivered, I suppose, overall, whilst I actually, in the end, really got into it, he did deliver, I suppose, maybe a mixed bag, which would be the consensus. Maybe, you know... So it'll be really interesting to see what Raven Metzner does with Iron Fist.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting. Yeah, he's done a couple of other shows, things like Sleepy Hollow he's been involved in before. Interestingly, Chris, for you particularly, he was the original writer on the first Daredevil sequel, which kind of killed the franchise in the 90s, the Elektra movie.
I know.
We may be doing a retrospective, which means we may be making you watch Elektra the movie.
Oh, not again. Not again.
It's coming.
Some of these retrospectives we've been doing are both beautifully dangerous to my fragile memories of the past. Some of my memories have been shattered with realistic expectations now. I've actually grown up and looked at some of these films going, ooh, I don't remember that being that bad, and need I say any more about a dancing Spider-Man Tobey Maguire. But guys, actually speaking of in Spider-Man, we did always get a lovely cameo from someone, and we have had our cameo finally for the Defenders in the Netflix MCU. Stan the Man has finally come in, and we saw him beautifully voice over a trailer released just before SDCC.
Yeah, this was quite interesting. This was actually the one I thought we were going to be talking about on this podcast. I thought we actually weren't going to get another trailer because they put this package together with Stan Lee introducing effectively all of the Defenders that we've seen so far. It's quite cool just seeing him riding around a taxi in New York, the city where all these characters are based. Loads of little touch points across the city, things like the press conference that Danny Rand has in Iron Fist up on the screen as he drives past. There was there's a Stark Enterprises billboard that's up there with Captain America's shield on it saying that we're here to save the future, which is quite cool. Again, after the events of Civil War, nice little touches there, bringing the universes together and having Stan Lee actually do his first live action cameo with the Defenders.
Definitely, and also some really nice little intercutting from this cameo that Stan Lee does with some of the footage from some of the other Defender shows. So in particular, the one where Luke Cage protects Misty Knight by crumpling the bonnet of a car that has come down the alleyway after the two of them as they're escaping. Sorry, Night Nurse, Claire Temple. Yeah, and you see that car going down the alleyway as Stan Lee is kind of driving on the main road past that alleyway as the four-wheeler shoots off to go and run the two down. Little does the driver know that his gorgeous-looking four-wheel drive is about to get absolutely broken.
Destroyed. But it's quite cool. Do you think this is the only cameo we're going to get? This live action cameo that we get in the trailer? Do you think now that they have Stan doing that we may see a proper cameo within the Defenders series? Because we talked about it a lot, that we were hoping that he was going to put on the police outfit and be the live-action version of the posters that we've seen all the way through the Defenders of Stanley the Cop.
So, exactly. So this is a tough one. I think basically what we've all discussed since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and we got that cameo and shows that he is, in theory, in the MCU, some form of Watcher employee, and talks about going in the events of Civil War and being a FedEx delivery man. I didn't think we were ever going to get this cameo within the Netflix. But since they filmed him riding in a car, I think it's very probable that they just had to do another... He's getting old, and let's be honest, this is why they originally filmed quite a lot of other cameos for the bank of going forward MCU films. So I'd say what this looks like is potentially they may have filmed him very quickly again, just maybe stepping out of the car, and that's what we'll get in the Defenders. He'll be, rather than the police officer, he'll be a background character just stepping out of a car or something like that. He will probably be in a car scene of some kind. We'll get a couple of quick lines and that's it. I don't think we will get a large Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 level cameo, but I think what we'll get is just background stepping out of a car, because they would have filmed it all in one.
Hopefully. Yeah, I'm hoping we'll get to see him in the show proper. But that's all the other Defenders related news
coming out of San Diego. Yeah. But so with that, I think it is on to the Defenders trailer that we got. Yeah. So, plenty of fighting is going to come our way. There looked to be a good bit of action in this trailer, definitely, with another corridor fight, just to tie up all those that little bit of through line of corridor fighting. Maybe that will take over from UFC. It'll be corridor fighting.
Yeah.
Where we see, and I think we had seen bits of that previously as well in little teasers beforehand.
This is the big one, really. This is what everybody's now looking forward to in a Defenders show that comes out. You have to have a corridor fight. You have to have the character fighting people down the corridor. In Iron Fist, we had them going into the lift, taking a fight downstairs, going out to another corridor. It's been ratcheting up. This time, having each of the characters fight off the back of each other and fight around each other with this group of what I'm guessing is the Hand. This looks like the building where Sigourney Weaver's character works, Alexandra. This looks like just after the boardroom meeting, where they're fighting their way out of the building, or possibly fighting their way towards the boardroom. So one or the other. Looks like the same building.
Now, I think that's Rand Enterprises. That's the 2 floors on Rand Enterprises that we were previously told about and was discovered in Iron Fist Season 1.
Yeah, it was the 13th floor, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely installed more lights since Iron Fist on that floor. Everything looks like it's got loads of white lights behind it.
And it's interesting we talk about the new boardroom, because, up to this point, we've had Gao. Mm-hmm. And Gao was on that boardroom. I didn't see Gao around the table, yet we do see Gao facing off with... Well, not necessarily facing off, that's probably the wrong word, but at least with Alexandra. There was, of course, as well, that other little snippet we got from San Diego as well, which had the 2 of them on a park bench in New York, discussing that. And if I'm honest for a moment, I'm really excited by this, because I think it's really intriguing what relationship Gao has with the Hand, whether she's this faction because she was fighting against Bakuto, and now if Alexandra is the big head honcho, at least in New York, is she displeased with Gao? Is Gao working for or against this new board of the Hand? Because we definitely see Bakuto in the trailer, and as well, the other thing that you pointed out to me in the trailer just before we came on air was there is a absolute flash blink, and you'll miss it, of Gao facing off against Danny Rand.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. You see,
with the Iron Fist glowing away.
It's in the big fight sequence. It looks like Gao is leading her army versus the Defenders, and you see the fully the fully powered, chi-powered fist of Iron Fist of Danny Rand aimed full force at Gao. So that fight is definitely happening. The one that didn't eventually happen in Iron Fist, the one that he was kind of talked out of a few times, I suppose. That's definitely happening in the Defenders, which is quite cool.
Can I make a hypothesis very quickly?
Oh, please.
My guess is, now we know that there is fractions of the hand. So it is my guess that Sigourney Weaver is a separate finger of the hand.
Okay.
So we had Bakuto. He was one. He got knocked down. So most likely knocked down a peg. Potentially he either reported into Sigourney Weaver, or Sigourney Weaver is another complete separate piece. Because the season is 8 episodes, I believe in the first 4, it's going to be the Defenders are brought together against Gao, with Sigourney Weaver in the background pulling strings, etc. And then in the final 4, second half of the series, it will be all Defenders against Sigourney Weaver, who we find out has been probably pulling the strings, or is a lot worse of a threat, or a larger threat to New York City than Gao.
Absolutely, or to the world.
Or to the world.
There's an interesting moment there in the trailer where we see that she's now mentoring the returned to life Elektra. We kind of knew this had happened. We knew Elektra had come back from the dead. This is obviously confirmation in this trailer. But she looks like she's mentoring Elektra, and one of her lines to her is, "In the end, New York is just a city, and you'll get used to watching them fall." So It feels like Sigourney Weaver's character is definitely focused on taking down many cities around the world, using the power of Elektra, using the power of...
And I was wondering if that was a reference back to Kun Lun having gone titty bye-bye at the end of Iron Fist.
Possibly, yeah, possibly.
Yeah, so it's not just real-life cities, and it may be... it's also
is very real.
No, it's also mystical cities,
Sure.
but it may also tie into what I think you had been postulating off, Derek, which
Taking all my points, John.
No, I'm helping you introduce your point. So go ahead, Derek, because yes, I was about to steal it.
You were, weren't you? Because it's based on Doctor Strange, which is John's favourite film. So there's an interesting part here. So in Doctor Strange, the Sorcerers Supreme have set up their central headquarters at points of mysticism or magic around the world. One of those points is in New York, is around where Doctor Strange has his Sanctum Sanctorum. Is it possible that the reason why the Hand are going after New York specifically is because it's an area of very great power? Is their next target going to be London, and the target after that going to be in Korea? No?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Singapore?
No, it's Hong Kong.
Thank you.
Hong Kong.
It was in Hong Kong. And it would tie in with, as you say, Alexandra's little chit-chat to Elektra saying, you'll get used to watching them fall with regards to cities. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like that idea because I think it still gives me hope that we will get Bleecker Street as a base for the Defenders, or a rest house for the Defenders in some form. Obviously, Bleecker Street being the home of the Sorcerer Supreme, Doctor Strange. Because, and even with this, I am still now kind of without hope for this showing up in the Defenders. I suppose... the fact that there was a nice little time with the Stan Lee trailer, again, gives me a little bit more hope, but I'm kind of thinking, no, they're not going to do it, which is a shame for me.
It is.
Probably no one else, but hey, sure, look, there
I'd love to see it too.
So, guys, very quick one. Do we think that, obviously, Elektra... Now, I say obviously, for people who are just joining us for the Defenders... we hope that you have gone back, or you will go back and listen to our reviews of the previous seasons of Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Iron Fist. But in Daredevil Season 2, we saw that what had been teased as what we thought potentially an Inhuman called Black Sky in Daredevil Season 1 turned out to be Elektra.
Yes.
Black Sky. A device or a weapon to be used by or against the Hand to Destroyer of Worlds, etc., yada, yada, yada. The chosen one, if you will. Do we think that because she's now being mentored by Alexandra, or Sigourney Weaver's character, do we think she is not going to know who Matt Murdock is, she's not going to know who everyone is, she is completely blank?
100%. Yeah.
Definitely, but there is that moment in the trailer where, and maybe it's just Matt or Daredevil trying to get through to her, so maybe she will just kind of go, and like still be blank after it. But there is the idea that he's going to try to get through to her, at least. Exactly.
So I am putting a bet on the table right now. We will get that scene where Matt is crying, stroking her face, going, "Remember, Elektra, remember, Elektra Nachos, remember who you are."
That's too specific and too terrible to actually happen.
Know,
so I'll take that bet, Chris. How much am I getting? How much am I winning for that?
You are winning a beautiful hug from myself.
Okay, cool. There's definitely going to be the scene where they will try to restore Elektra to her former self, and hopefully by the end of the season she will be restored.
Yeah, there will be some redemption for her from her kind of zombie state. But like as well with that, I really like the voiceover of Alexandra where she goes, "You formed a bond here. However, this won't last," and I'm really interested to see how this bond between the four Defenders will get picked apart ultimately by Alexandra and their hand and all her minions, because that idea of Elektra and Daredevil is a nice way, because we see Jessica Jones stepping in to stop him from sort of moving towards us. So immediately Elektra potentially is a source of friction because Daredevil is close to Mr. Doritos, Nachos, so I'm really interested to see how that gets picked apart, really. How Alexandra kind of comes in with her threat that, it's temporary, this bond that you formed, and also to just see how they break apart and then probably and almost certainly come back together again. I hope they just do it, without cliche and tropes.
Yeah. You know me and my love of tropes. Guys,
let's keep cracking through the trailer, guys.
So I want to talk about one thing. So this is what we've been waiting for. This is what this podcast was built for. All roads led not to Doctor Strange. All roads led to the Defenders. This is the culmination of the four series, the four characters coming together. And it doesn't look like they're going to be super friends, which I think is a lovely knock at DC, by the way.
It is. Nice one, Luke Cage. Yeah,
yes.
Good moment.
So we're getting, like, from this trailer, we're getting a lot of the sense of the frictions, of the dynamic that we're going to get across these team members. For example, as I said, Luke, he says he isn't looking for super friends. Obviously, Matt makes it a bit of a joke out of it, or Matt is being serious, Luke's maybe making a joke. We have Jessica being the comic relief, if you will, of probably the team. To a degree,
I think if you're not, or if you think Daredevil's too serious, she's the perfect relief to Daredevil's character. He's kind of the grown up. He's been doing it longer than everybody else. He's the one that led all of the shows. Obviously, we have 2 full seasons of Daredevil, so as a character, he has much more history and kind of baggage coming to the table for this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he has Catholic demons rather than drink demons,
Absolutely.
And drink demons would tend to be funnier.
Possibly.
Potentially.
Possibly. But I love how they deal with each other in just these couple of scenes. This is what I'm waiting for. I want to see that kind of moment where, Jessica finally discovers Matt's powers, where he's able to smell what type of food is being delivered to the table.
Love that.
And the reaction from Jessica is just, you are so weird. And
the Royal Dragon is back as well. Nice little reference and return of the Royal Dragon, the Chinese restaurant in Iron Fist.
That's right, yeah.
As well, where they seem to get confronted by Alexandra and her hordes as well.
Yes.
Big battles going down there, yeah.
Actually, it's not just Jessica Jones that's given out to Matt. I mean, Luke Cage does as well, like, I'm not hugging you. Like, it only seems to be Iron Fist that isn't shown doing any of that, and in fact helps him up. He's probably the only helpful one towards Daredevil in this. But
I think what we kind of see with the scenes with Danny is that he seems to be trying to encourage everybody to work together, which would be kind of true to character for Iron Fist, wouldn't it?
Absolutely, and certainly even he gets a bit like when he's talking about his chi, and he goes, "It's chi," and Jessica's like, "No, it's not." So I mean, it's kind of it's probably the idea that, and like you say, Jessica is like, these guys are taking themselves way too seriously. Dress in jeans, a leather jacket, and jump or fly, whatever you want to do, and just enjoy life.
Yeah, I really think what we're going to have is, this is a team that does not want to form, and we have the young, idealistic, and kind of impressionable Danny, who is still that teenager and goes, "Oh, we can do it as a team. We can be together. We can do this." And you have the sarcastic, sassy Jessica. You have Luke, who is fresh off the bus from prison, who is probably doesn't want to play well with others right now, based on his previous incarnation.
Except he's just come back from some hot coffee with Claire Temple, I believe.
Ooh, yes.
I think he may want to play well
true.
with one person.
Yes. And then we have Matt, who just has been doing it alone, as you said, for years. So I think what we're going to have is Danny is trying to force this situation, and he's like trying to pull them together. I do not think he'll become the de facto leader. I don't see it. I see him being the driving force, but then I do feel once Matt turns and start to understand how this group is necessary, we will see the Matt Murdock lawyer kind of take charge and pull it together.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in this trailer as well, we didn't really kind of see too much in the way of interaction between Danny and Luke, for example.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I think that has to be held back, really, doesn't it?
It does.
And that's the one that we're really looking forward to see, because obviously in the comic books, and we've talked about it many times on the podcast, these two are best friends. They've worked together for many, many years in the comic books. They have a lot of history together as characters. So I think you're definitely holding that one back for the audience to get to August 18th. Really.
And there was more of the hint of that in the earlier trailer for Defenders.
Yeah.
Now, we've mentioned the good guys, we've mentioned the bad guys, have not mentioned the grey area guy. Old Stick himself, Stick and Stone. Actually, sorry, just Stick. Will we get Stone? Will we get other members of the cast? So it's interesting. But so we've heard Stick's voiceover in this trailer. We saw very briefly him in this trailer. Mm-hmm. What are you guys thinking? Like, how's this going to play along?
It almost feels like Danny fails in his attempt to encourage the group together, and then it just takes Stick to just go, "Just do it, will you?" You know, in the way Stick can do with everybody. You know, so Danny is obviously, we've seen Stick work really tough on Matt, really tough with Elektra. How are the reactions going to be from the rest of the group? I can't really imagine Jessica taking much direction from Stick or Luke, for that matter.
No.
So I'm going to really enjoy that dynamic between everybody and Stick. My big question really is, someone's going to die. This is the big connection between all of the characters together. Someone's going to die. Is it going to be Stick?
Well, there is that moment where he seems to be speaking with Alexandra about how, really you think you've got the upper hand, but, well, yeah, no pun intended, of course. You think you've got the upper hand, but, we'll still carry on the fight, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I reckon, he's probably not going to stick around too long after that.
Well done. I was waiting for that one. But, guys, I'm going to disagree. And I don't mean this in a bad way, right? I have a different theory. In this trailer, we hear Danny saying that they're hunting down their friends and family. Mm-hmm. So this is great. We knew this was happening. We're going to get the Foggies, the Karens, the Trish, all coming together with some form of cameo. Not cameo, probably. Bit part, probably is, again, too small of a word, but they'll have some occurrence in this. But Claire Temple is the connecting ribbon across all these shows. Her getting kidnapped, her getting her life threatened by the Hand, there you have the connection. There you have what drives them to go after the Hand to get Claire back. That is the single point that will hurt all of them. And if you have the death of Claire Temple, that then becomes the reason for the formation of the Defenders going forward. That the vengeance.
I think I mentioned this in our coverage of previously when we were talking about some of the other episodes. I don't want Claire dead. I don't want it to be her being killed drives them, because they're heroes. You know, I'd love them to go and save Claire, and then they've now banded together to stop the Hand from taking over New York. It's not a simple case of they killed my mate, let's go and kill them. This should be a much bigger story, not just they murdered a friend. It's they're about to kill all of New York or take over all of New York. Let's go after them and take them.
But do you think there will be someone like it's more that if Claire died, it would be to hit home how serious it is.
Maybe,
but that ultimately, I kind of get what both you're saying, but if it's simply about Claire, then it becomes almost like vengeance, and that's the thing that ties them together. But they are protecting New York. But if someone is to die, is that it sort of really presses home the seriousness of the threat of the Hand. So it's not going to be Foggy or Karen.
No.
I don't think it'll be Trish.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be Claire Temple either.
But, so, we know how Netflix do their cliffhangers. We know that they will leave someone bleeding out. We also know that a certain Danny Rand has a healing chi hand. Mm-hmm. I foresee that what we will get is Claire Temple lying in a pool of her own blood, dying, bleeding out at the end of an episode. And then at the beginning of the next, you have Danny working, trying to pull her back to life, and he gets her back to life. Right. So therefore, she dies, you get the vengeance, but you also get the, hey, we work together as a team, join our chi, we can help save the world, and that's the drive. So
see, I think Danny can cure. I don't think he can bring somebody back from the dead. I think that's reserved for the Hand and their special machine or their special sarcophagus. All I thought that was going to happen with Claire is that she gets kidnapped from Luke when the two of them are alone. That makes Luke go to Jessica potentially for help finding her. Jessica is already in dealings with Matt to get her out of the trouble that we know she's in from the previous trailer. So they're already in a connection, and then Danny comes in to try and form the group together to go after the Hand. I think that Claire is just going to be the impetus for them all to find each other, because she knows them all. So I think that's just going to be the start of it, and I think she'll get herself out of the situation. She's very good at that. She's very good at getting away from the really dangerous situation or running towards it a bit if necessary. There's one other character that we haven't really talked about, which was a major character in Iron Fist and is featured in the trailer here. And very important if you haven't watched Iron Fist, because a lot of people actually skipped that series because they were weirdly told it wasn't very good. It was a great series, well worth watching. If you haven't watched it, go see it. But that big character is Colleen Wing, and she gets her moment versus Bakuto, her former master.
Yes, Bakuto actually shows up a few times in the trailer. Mm-hmm. Like, I think at the moment where there's the voiceover talking about hunting friends and family, there's Bakuto and Colleen there. He's also with Alexandra as they watch Elektra finish off, or should I say, kill a load of, I think, Hand operatives or combatants. Okay. Sort of, she's there in the middle with the circle of dead people who were there for, presumably told, you're coming into a training exercise. It's a bit like stormtroopers, you know, and next thing, there's a few orphans left in the world. But so you see Bakuto there, and yet definitely Colleen Wing will be good here, because if Misty Knight's in Defenders as well, maybe this is where the hub, or the nub, I should say, of Daughters of the Dragon starts to kind of maybe get a little Easter egg or something.
Potentially. I was really intrigued because the last time we saw Bakuto, he was lying dead on the ground, and then he had disappeared when everybody turned round. He had disappeared. So the feeling that we had watching Iron Fist was that he was taken away, and then he was given the same treatment that Elektra was to bring him back to life, is what I think we thought at the time. So.
But potentially, it's either going to be that or he was not dead. He kind of did the usual staggered, pulled himself up, pulled the blade out, and did a wander through through the park in the rain.
I think we'd said there wasn't probably enough time in that quick scene for that to have happened, but so you'd probably have to have at least a member of the hand to pick him up and carry him.
Yeah, but he's a ninja.
I think he's the next member of this team that's been brought back to life. We had Nobu, we had Elektra, and now we have Bakuto as another member of the team. That's my feeling. And
will we get a fourth that then brings it to... Oh, no, we won't, because we have Gao. Gao is the fourth then.
Gao's the one.
So then everyone pretty much has someone to fight. Because it's always going to be 4 now. 4 against 4. That's the way we're going to get it.
Yeah. And then, of course, just quickly, do we see Scythe back in this trailer as well in the Royal Dragon Chinese restaurant, where there is a villain that comes in to the restaurant to break up the post boardroom smackdown and celebratory shrimp and pork meal. We see him come in, and it's kind of, he's hidden in the darkness, but I just wondered whether that was Scythe.
I just couldn't get my paws working right to work out whether it was the same actor or whether it was a different character. I just couldn't catch it right, but it'd be really interesting if they bring back one of these big challengers to Danny Rand from Iron Fist as another villain in the series. Would be quite cool.
It's going to be tough. Like, we see that scene of them fighting in what we assume is underground. In that scene, we see Luke smash a guy into a pillar. Into the ceiling, for example. So I just want to make sure. Obviously, we are going to have, this is ninjas. We know we are having the evil hand ninjas, or we could call them the foot soldiers. But I don't want to make it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of reference too early. But I just did anyway. So I just want to make sure that we do get some some street level again. So my one, let's not call it concern. Let's call it. I just want to.
But it is.
But it is a concern. I don't want to call it a concern, but let's not put a label on it.
Other than a concern.
The label. I don't want to use the label concern, but my concern is, is this going to be just all ninjas? I'm hoping that we also get some of the drug gangs that Daredevil has faced, so that from the Steel Serpent cocaine piece, that we get some of the thugs that Luke Cage has fought in his series, that Jessica. Okay, well, with Jessica, probably more of the special operations, Secret Service. We never quite figured out the government agency. Like, I'm hoping they drag some of those people in as well, because
there's definitely a quick cut of a van loaded full of mercenaries. Guns, getting weapons ready.
Is that Turk in the back of that van?
I just don't know. I can't pause it quickly enough to catch.
Could be Turk.
Catch it. It could.
Maybe Turk.
It could, yeah. Just not sure about it. Hoping Rob Morgan does get back on Defenders for who we've seen all the way throughout Daredevil seasons, and he was in Luke Cage as well. We'd hope to see him back on the show. He is always a really good presence on the show, but I'm not sure if it was him. But yeah, I know what you mean, Chris. I feel like we've got 8 episodes here. We're going to have a little bit of everything in there.
Wilson Fisk, maybe,
possibly.
Looking out across
possibly at
Rikers
the moment,
Island.
At the moment, Vincent D'Onofrio is doing exactly the same thing that he did before Daredevil Season 2, which is, I am absolutely, unequivocally not possible that I could have been on that. I was filming a different film when this show was going on. He's doing exactly the same thing at the moment, so...
so that's a yes then.
Yeah. Will Diamondback come in to it? Black Mariah, maybe.
I have a feeling they're going to save a lot of those characters for their own individual shows.
So.
One question I did have from from the trailer, and it's stupid to ask questions from a trailer because we're going to find out when the episodes come out on the 18th of August. But one question I did have, there is a moment where Danny and Colleen are standing side by side below what looks like a big skyscraper, and a big explosion happening and them diving backwards. I'm wondering if that's Rand Enterprises exploding.
Yep.
Will it be the end of the big Rand Enterprises building from Iron Fist? It feels like, because that's the most recent show, that's probably going to be the kick-off point as well. We're going to probably follow those characters most easily from the previous show, and then we'll see Luke coming out of prison afterwards. So it'll be interesting to see, now that Danny seems to be on good footing in terms of the business life, the other stuff not really, but in terms of the business life, he seems to be on good footing. It would be nice to see that being taken away as the start of why he wants to go out and take revenge or attack the Hand in New York.
Yeah, I very much think this is it. I think we get the boardroom scene. Danny has been traveling with Colleen. He comes back. They go to the floor 13. They see that they have the fight. They all run out. The explosion happens, or the explosion. I think the cut of Colleen and Danny is walking into the building. Then you have the fight. Then you have the explosion. Then you have the guys going to the Chinese restaurant. I think that's the over, because you're like, they need to, as you said, they need to cut the Rand Enterprises piece, and the explosion will happen, basically decimating the level 13, floor 13.
I think, that'll probably happen, but maybe not immediately after the boardroom.
Right.
Because it seems, unless...
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Unless the Dragon... the Royal Dragon Chinese is at a different time, maybe, because it is cut and sliced up, so we don't quite know what order it might all come in.
Yes,
absolutely. This could be from the final episode. That's how they killed them all.
But the one thing
Danny and Colin are just surprised that somebody planted a bomb in Rand Enterprise.
And it was strange for him to then go off for a Chinese meal. But the one thing as well that hit me by seeing Madame Gao, and obviously I'm a big fan of Madame Gao, is that she is kind of, okay, I know she wasn't in Luke Cage, and I know she wasn't in Jessica Jones, but in Daredevil season 1 and 2 and in Iron Fist, she does make reference to these characters. And then she's obviously then in Defenders, that she is the anti-Claire Temple through thread for the Hand in many respects. Because Jessica doesn't really face off after the Hand, and neither does Luke Cage. So you can understand her absence from those shows. But ultimately now, with her in the Defenders, I thought it was really great seeing those two actors playing Alexandra and Madame Gao on the bench. Madame Gao means an awful lot through the Defenders series, and obviously with Alexandra, played by Sigourney Weaver, obviously like Alien, etc., etc., etc. Enough said. So I really think Madame Gao is kind of like the evil Claire Temple.
Do you think her full name is Madame Gao Temple?
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. That's overall, I think, everything from the Defenders trailer we could pull out and
jam-packed.
But there is obviously that lovely tag scene at the end of the trailer with just Matt, just Luke, on a train with Jessica Jones as she opens up a beer after her bad week. I love that moment because it almost feels like Jessica Jones from her really adult TV show has landed alongside kind of sensitive Matt, who's, guided by the church and has to go every weekend. And, Luke Cage is just out of prison where he wouldn't have been able to crack open a beer any day he wanted to. So I really like that real juxtaposition between the three characters. It's a funny little moment, but it just shows you the difference between, or what you can do when you have these three characters together.
And I thought it was Danny who was fast asleep lying across the seats on the other side of the train.
I think so. It looked a bit more homeless than Danny. But then again, he does have a homeless look about him when he arrives back in New York last time. So maybe again this time.
Shaggy Danny.
Yeah, the only other thing that I did notice is Luke Cage definitely loves those hoodies, because he does go in and out of the bullet hole version and the non-bullet hole version, the pristine version. So it isn't just the one from the end of Luke Cage that he's just picked up in prison and put back on. He does have he is wearing one that has no bullet holes in it. So he obviously has got a line of clothing.
I think he gets shot quite a lot in this.
I think
I'm just like, he is the bullet sponge.
True. Anything else overall on the trailer, guys?
No, from my side, I'm just now, I kind of want to go into lockdown. We are T-minus less than a month. It is close. So I know some, the early embargo large site reviews have kind of put theirs up and have their first look. And I'm kind of keeping my head down. I don't want to be influenced in any way. I know what we'll probably get is a kind of TV spot trailer, like 10-second kind of intros from some of the social media aspects, maybe on the days leading up.
Probably me just releasing them on our Facebook group, Chris, to be honest.
Yes, exactly.
I'm usually the one that annoys everybody with the trailers. So. But if you want to be annoyed by our trailers, you can come and join us over on facebook.com/groups/Defenders TV podcast, where I'll be posting all of the stuff that Chris isn't allowed to watch.
Yeah, it's a good segue just to kind of there, because it's not just what we can't watch, it's also what I can't see in terms of photos. We'll probably get some bios. I'm assuming that this is what everything from Marvel Netflix has been leading up to. This is what they will spam us with. Maybe. But I'm going on lockdown, people.
Definitely. And of course, you can join us on Twitter as well at DefendersCast. And of course, you can join us on the podcast by going to defenderstvpodcast.com/iTunes and getting Defenders TV Podcast there on Apple Podcasts, or just search Defenders TV Podcast with any other good or evil podcast catcher. Just search Defenders TV Podcast. Please subscribe, and please, if you want to, you're more than welcome to leave a review as well.
And finally, just a reminder, the way we cover the podcast is one episode at a time, one episode, one podcast review. So you'll be getting your first podcast about the Defenders on the 18th of August. Watch the first episode, come join us for that, and let us know your thoughts as you go through the series. We won't be spoiling ourselves by watching ahead. We'll just be watching the episodes and recording. So that means you can jump in whatever way you're watching it as the episodes are airing on Netflix on the same day. You have your choice about how you watch them, so we want to give you your choice of how you listen to the podcast as well. So we do each episode individually. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, as John mentioned.
Yeah, and as we've done for the previous series, on our Facebook group, we will set up spoiler-filled posts, which we will allow spoilers to occur in the comments underneath that particular post. Mm-hmm. So it allows everyone who's watched ahead to talk and wax absolutely lyrical about all the good stuff that's happened in each episode. And those who are maybe going along at their own pace aren't spoiled by some of the big events that may occur in the Defenders.
Mm-hmm. What's next up, Chris?
Next, of course, what we're going to do is a quick recap. So we're going to do some quick episodes where we recap each of the characters and what has led them to this point. So we will do Daredevil season 1 and 2. We'll do a quick one on Jessica. We'll do a quick one on Luke, and wrapping it up with what had happened in our previous Iron Fist series. But of course, if you are even interested in going to the movies at the moment, we recently released our Spider-Man Homecoming review, and I do hope that you go have a listen, because you will find out some very interesting, if not surprising, news about how much I loved it.
It was a great podcast. I really enjoyed recording that one too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. If we have half as much fun throughout the 8 episodes of Defenders, I'll consider that a mission accomplished, really.
Yes, absolutely. We will be back for our Defenders 101. I'm off to go and chug a tinny.
Love it. Me too. Thanks for joining us, fellow Defenders.
Thank you, guys. See you soon.
Thank you, as always, for listening. And, of course, we will speak with you next time. Bye.